Hi, Megan. How are you?
I'm good, Tara. How are you doing today?
I'm doing amazing. So, welcome to episode 4 of Multidimensional Wellness. We have Megan here. Megan's such a special sister in my life. She's done some really profound healing work for me, and I'm so excited to have her talk about her work today. So,
And can I say something before we get started?
of course, please.
So you worked on my cat recently,
Oh,
new cat, and I just have to let you know that for the first time since I got him a little over a month ago, he finally came into my bed last night to sleep. So I'm so thankful for the work that you did for him.
that's
Um,
really
so
sweet.
thank you.
Oh, I love that. Thank you for your beautiful feedback. So give me like a high level overview of the work that you do.
Okay. So I combine a lot of different kind of modalities and energies in the work that I do. So from kind of quantum healing to human design, gene keys, um, to kind of looking at the patterns that are playing out in people's lives from all these different perspectives to find the root cause and start to release it so that um, people can start to make different choices in their life instead of like reacting based on old patterns.
Mm, yes, I love that. So, tell me about how human design has benefited your life and your work.
Okay. So I discovered human design, or was introduced, I should say, to human design um, probably just under 5 years ago, um, from my friend Elena, because she was into it and she was wondering what my energy type was. And it was a lot of great information. I had a reading, and it kind of was one of those things where it helps you make sense of, or not make sense, it helps you say, oh, that's who I am, because a lot of times people try to make us bad and wrong
Mm,
for things that are naturally us.
mm,
And so, like, for myself and with a lot of my clients, it's like I always knew I was like that, but people tried to tell me I shouldn't be like that. And so it's like that permission to be yourself. And the more that you dive into it, like I'm a 5-1 profile. So like the line one aspect of my chart is all about learning things. So it's like human design and gene keys have all these rabbit holes.
mm,
And so it's like this constant diving into what things mean and how these different interpretations of things, and it's like different things click based on what previous patterns and conditionings I've released. And so, for example, I have an open throat and an open G center. So like I can talk in a lot of different voices, and I have because I have an undefined identity, which is the G center, I can kind of morph between different personalities, which has been kind of a struggle for me. Because it's like, well, who am I? Because like sometimes I'm like this, and other times I'm like this. So it's been refreshing to kind of realize that that's part of my wisdom, is being able to step into these different energies when I need them.
Almost like shape shifting. I do feel that you
Yeah.
have that embodiment within your template. So
Yeah.
I really love that. So tell me a bit about your G Keys work.
um, so the Gene Keys is kind of a, it works with the human design.
Mhm.
So it like the founder of human design, Rau, kind of had his perspective of what the different gates meant, and kind of the I Ching perspective of what the gates mean. And Richard Rudd, who created the Gene Keys, downloaded additional information about the gates, and created this flow. So it's, you have your genius, which is your conscious and unconscious sun and earth. So it's
Mm.
like, what you're meant to do in the world, like how you're meant to shine your light. And when you're in alignment within these 4 points, things flow better. And then there is the Venus sequence, which is basically like how we come to love, but it's all based on our wounding that
Mm.
starts from previous lives and comes into like age birth to 7, then 7 to 14, and 14 to 21. So like those are our emotional intelligence, our spiritual intelligence, and our EQI, like in our regular intelligence. So like things that happened at between those ages affect how we relate to people, and it plays out a pattern. So like when certain things start to happen, it triggers that Venus sequence, and we either push people away, or we go towards the wrong people, or we do this pattern thing. And so I've been learning how to decondition through the gene keys and human design in general, but been diving deep into that Venus sequence. And it's like, oh my God, yep, this happens, and then I do this, and then I do this, and then I do this.
Mm.
So it's been, fascinating to see how it's like it's all right there. Like everything about you is right there. And it's not to say that like you're stuck in that energy, that pattern of you, because there's the shadow side of things, then the gift, and then the highest timeline around it of the Sadi. So it's like you can change how that pattern plays in your life, and use those wounds to help yourself and help others.
Mm. Love that. I've personally been looking at my Chiron aspects and like learning how to transform that specific wound, because our wounds actually are our greatest gifts. So like where we struggle the most is like there underneath those wounds is like gems and treasures and so many things that you can access.
Yeah.
So I love that you're following that. I would love to get a reading in regards to the Venus sequencing, just because I too have been really called to work with the planetary transits of Venus and following like her schedule and like when she goes into the underworld, and then just it's just so much magic
Mhm.
there. So what do you like about business and leadership?
So I got into leadership, like, so I have a corporate background. I've been in corporate for more than 24 years. Um, and when I started on that aspect of my life, I never really thought about leadership. And it wasn't until I was in massage school, of all places, and I received a massage from a woman, and we were talking about how I was in school. And this woman said to me, she's like, I don't really see you as a massage therapist. Um, she's like, I see you as a leader. And I was like, at the time, because I was in school, I was like, who woman to tell me that I'm not going to be a good massage therapist? um, but I was like, well, let me explore this, because in order to be in business for myself, I do need leadership skills. So I started, as my 5-1 profile, I started doing a lot of research and reading a lot of books about leadership, watching TED Talks. And then within my corporate career, I started to move into leadership roles. And what I love about leadership is it's about personal development, and it's about, like, as the leader and having other people, it's about helping them step into their own leadership. So a lot of times it was about, especially for like the women that I led, helping them to find their voice,
Mm.
helping them um, to command the space, to say what they want, and then ask for what they need help with. Where, like, so an example, one of my colleagues at the time, she talked to somebody that she needed his help to get things moving. but everything she said sounded like a question. So
Mm.
when the call was over, like I could tell he didn't quite understand exactly what he needed to do. And so I gave her feedback and worked with her and some other people on having their voice. Because when I was in martial arts, as one of the few female higher ranking students, I had to command the space of men who were bigger and stronger than me and lead them, teach them. So I really learned how to command my voice. Um, so, helping to bring that in, because that's, leadership is about honoring our own sacredness, honoring our boundaries, honoring what we want to do, and really knowing what we want to do so we can move forward. So that's what I love. And I think that's such an important part in business, knowing what our message is. And even like for myself, I'm still in that process of putting all the pieces of myself together and having that clear message. But I know that leadership is such a strong part of what I'm here to do, and specifically to help spiritual leaders really step into their power. And not from like the negative paradigm of power, but of, holding that sacred, you know, we're here to do deep spiritual healing work and reclaim life on this earth the way it was meant to be.
Mm. Love that. Yeah, and that's what I love most about like the gene keys and human design is like you get to find out about your own inner mechanics and like what works, what's not working, like what's defined, what's, like really bringing your gifts up to the surface and using them in a way to where you're like presenting and showcasing like what you're here to do. And I feel like that's so important. A lot of us like even in my early stages of my career, I had a lot of trepidation and fear around like not sounding right and not doing all the things, and that was like part of the work that I needed to do is really like look at the aspects of myself of like, okay, where am I not feeling safe in my own embodiment? How can I really embrace these aspects of myself so that I can help others through like things that I went through? So um tell me about your quantum healing work that you do.
So to me, that is the energetics of everything else. So it's I can do the work in a couple different ways.
Mhm.
So, one of the ways is going into the field, so either the collective field or an individual person's field, and reading the energy, clearing the energy, looking at timelines within that, and whatever energy is keeping them from their highest timeline.
Mm.
Uh, the other way that I do the quantum work is helping to guide people through their own experience, which I think is really powerful. Because it's one thing to have somebody do the work for you. And sometimes we need that because we're not in the space or the capacity to do that for ourselves. But like once we start feeling stronger and we can start to allow ourselves to trust ourselves in the fields, um, to be able to have that experience for ourselves, to see things. I've guided people through who are like, I don't know where that's coming from, but I know it's this. Like this is the number that popped into my head, or this is the vision that I just had, and it becomes harder to deny a change because you have experienced it yourself.
Mm.
Uh,
Yes, totally.
yeah. So, and especially like going into past life kind of stuff, because that's like within my own human design, it's a lot of like looking at the patterns of the past in order to shift the future. Because it's, we get stuck on old timelines,
Mhm.
from either stuff that happened in our childhood, stuff that happened in previous lifetimes, stuff that's playing out through our generational line, through our families, that we're stuck in that pattern. And until we understand it and we're able to release it and just release the emotions around it, release the energy around it.
Mhm. And the beliefs.
Yeah. like once we do that, then it's like everything starts to like shift.
Mm-hmm.
And all of a sudden it's like you're presented with, you know, the pattern that would normally play out, or the thing that would trigger your pattern. It's like, oh, okay, I see what you're trying to do here. And I'm going to respond like this. So I'll give you an example with all the deconditioning work that I've been doing recently. One of the patterns that has played out in my life, you know, some anger, and then like specifically, like when driving, you know, if somebody does something that either irritates me or scares me, like the last week or the week before, I was driving to work, and this guy like last minute pulled out in front of me, which, you know, if he had actually sped up, it would have been okay, but it's like he meandered. And so like I have to slam on my brakes. And so, you know, like the fear part of me, the masculine part of me who, you know, is supposed to like protect me, got aggressive. And so I started driving aggressively and, you know, just being a little irritated with everything. And all of a sudden I was like, you know, the voice of the mentor I've been working with, you know, came into my head of like, what pattern are you aware of here? What emotions are you aware of? I'm like, oh. And so then I ended up having like this inner dialogue, you know, like between my inner feminine and inner masculine, you know, like my inner feminine saying to the masculine, you know, it's okay. It's okay that you were scared. It was okay. But like right now, the energy that you're holding is actually making us more vulnerable because you're driving aggressively. You're going to put us and others at risk. And it was like I was able to like let it go and back out of that energy. So like that is really powerful because you're not carrying that. I'm not carrying that into my day.
Yeah, that's really powerful. I can relate to a lot of that stuff as well. And even with the work that we've done, I mean, gosh, healing the false masculine wounds, clearing, you know, fear of getting in trouble, like the persecution, the core distortions. Oh my gosh, Jerry, he's so funny. Um, just it's just been such a profound thing because, you know, what would usually trigger me before we started working together doesn't bother me anymore. It's like we were able to really collapse those timelines and 0 point like neutralize the things that would, you know, previously trigger me or keep me locked in this sort of like closing myself off, protecting myself. But then when you realize like you're not operating from those past timelines anymore, it's like it doesn't bother you. It doesn't affect you the same way. It doesn't, you don't have you know, that sort of like feeling like you need to like defend yourself. You just kind of witness people like, oh, okay, you know, that's how they're feeling and that's okay, you know, and it's beautiful to be able to come to that place. So
That's very freeing.
it is. It's so amazing. And I feel like that's a lot of the work that we're here to do, as, you know, angels and star seeds. That's our original divine blueprint. So I feel like when we come down here, we're like, ah, we forget about you know, the density of the human body and the human experience and the conditioning. But then when we're doing like up all the cleanup work, it's like, oh, that's
Yep.
why.
Yep.
That's why. And I feel like this specific timeline that I'm accessing now with all the amazing healers, I'm able to do a lot of work that I wasn't able to in many lifetimes. It's such a special thing to just be alive right now with the access, with the technology that we have. And so,
Yeah.
yeah. Is there
And
anything else
even
that you want to share about your work that you would like to talk about?
yeah. Well, I was even gonna say, like, you know, when the triggers do happen and we do react to them, like, you know, one, we don't react as long, and two, like we can start to find forgiveness in ourselves and, you know, oh, I need to do more healing around that. And it's, you know, instead of making ourselves bad and wrong, it is about that forgiveness, and that I am human, I am in this physical density. And so yeah, there are going to be times where no matter how much work I've been doing, I'm still going to be triggered. So like, it's that, I hear this a lot from people, and I remember, especially at the start of my own journey of like, oh, I've healed this. And then all of a sudden, like, a few months later, it's like something loops back around and you're like triggered again. And you're like, oh, I thought I dealt with that. So it's like that, sometimes I think it's the, um, that little test of like, have you really, what are you really going to choose here? And being able to catch ourselves of like, wait a second, this isn't what I want my life to be like anymore. And stepping back, stepping off that ledge of going down the not so good path. And then sometimes I think it loops back around because most of the wounds that we're dealing with aren't just from this lifetime. They
No, they're
are
so
from,
ancient.
yeah. So it's like we're clearing them on these, different layers. Because sometimes, I mean, it could, the original wound could say be, back in Lemurian days, or even on a different planet, that original wound. But it's like you can't access that original wound yet, because there's stuff from a previous lifetime or this lifetime that you've got to clear first. And so you clear that, and then you clear the next level and the next and the next, until you get to the point of origin. Like, sometimes we're not ready to go to that point of origin right away. And I've felt that recently myself with my own healing of like, you know, releasing a lot and feeling like I'm still holding energy here in my body, but my reaction is to pull away because I'm not ready to go to that point yet. And to honor that of like, there's still, I need to integrate the work that I've done. And I think that's another thing that I have done myself, and I have seen others do, is like, we believe we're broken. And we go on this wild journey of, I need to do all the things. I need to find the healer who will fix me, who will set things right, who will see me, so I can see myself. And so it's like this constant healing without allowing yourself to integrate the work that you've actually done. And so like building that into the process of, doing the healing, having a deep, profound experience, and integrating and honoring that, honoring the emotions, honoring, because sometimes, it's very emotional after the emotion of clearing.
Yeah,
And it's like
absolutely.
you almost mourn parts of yourself.
And it's true. And even getting soul pieces back, my God, we have to like process the trauma, what happened around the times that we lost those things. So it could be really intense, deep work, And like I think especially with the new age stuff, we're just gonna heal it and we're gonna feel better. And then we're gonna do some more healings. We're gonna activate and we're gonna feel so good. And honestly, I in my embodiment have been just slowing down and integrating and only doing what I'm called to and drawn to when there's its full resonance and a full fuck yes in my body. It's not like I'm chasing all the healings and the activations, but I do feel like on some level, like we've all kind of felt broken by the world. So I do feel that there have, even within myself, that I have felt broken and I need to fix things, or I need to feel like have to fix other people. And I realize that that's really not my job. And I just been more in my own yin, and people who are drawn to the work will come reach out to me, and I just allow myself to be a channel for God instead of, trying to like get my
Like,
ego in it with
yeah.
yeah, I think that that's a lot of the new age stuff. It's like people, talk about the Melchizedek and all the things, but they don't actually, do the background work of what that means to embody that specific template. And um and it's it's just very interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, but oh my gosh, I just love you and I love your work, and you've just been such a impactful conduit in my life, and I'm so grateful for your time today. It was really special to interview you. And reach out to Megan if you want amazing human design gene keys reading. Her quantum work is super next level. I'm telling you, some of the soul pieces that I've been able to get back, timelines that I've been able to collapse, things within my own self have been extremely shifted, working with her over, I would say, the last year and a half, and it's been so powerful.
And I feel the same way about your work.
Thank
And
you.
one of the things that has been shifting for me, like I was doing, just one sessions here and there with people, but I'm really finding, within my own journey and the way that I want to work is more of that long-term, you know, 6 month kind of work,
Mm, yeah.
um, to really unpack the layers and then start to, where do you want your life to go? Because that is what I'm here to do is, what are the patterns from the past that we need to heal, and where do we want to go, so that really embodying the quantum work and the leadership work.
Mm,
So that's, you know, one of the ways that I've really been shifting my work. And the other thing I think is important, like there's so many programs that are about, it's almost be it's almost about embodying what the teacher
mm,
wants.
mm,
And the way that I want to work, the way that I'm really drawn to work now is it's called priority based healing.
mm,
And so it's like kind of going in and asking the energy, asking the person's life
mm,
body, like, what is the priority today? Like, is it human design? Is it gene
mm,
keys? Is it a healing modality based on like, where are they today and what do they need to heal? Um, so, it's just been such a powerful shift for myself, because even like it's really easy for myself. Like I've never been really big on um like, well, I let me take that back. Like I have done the inner work on myself, but sometimes because so much of the energy that I embody in my human design is collective, I
mm,
find it hard to sit and really work with myself the way that I can with a healer. Because working with a healer, it's like I've set aside this time and it's for me.
mm,
But the priority based healing, it's like whatever I'm experiencing in that moment, I can find easily what needs to be shifted. And so
mm.
it's been a lot easier to even work on myself. So I think this work is so powerful on so many levels and so many frequencies.
Mm, I love that. And it's so special to be curated to specific, unique issues and things, instead of making like 100K months, which a lot of
Yeah,
these like abundance coaches and things
yeah.
like that, it's like
Or become the
I,
queen or the king or and
I
it's
mean,
like
yeah.
you'll embody all of that stuff as you come into alignment with yourself. Like there's
Mm,
nothing else you need to, like, no special um archetype or anything. It's like we're all of those things in our fullest capacity.
mm,
And on an individual level, we hold a specific energetic signature that gets to be expressed through us.
mm. Yes. Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Megan, for your
You.
time today. I can't wait to dive deep into the Venus sequencing, and we will chat soon.
Okay, sounds good.
All right, bye.